Hey, Bloomies. It's your girl, Chris with a K, and you're listening to the Blooming Lately podcast, the podcast for late bloomers from a late bloomer, because we're not late, we're just blooming on our own time. And this week, I wanted to talk about family dynamics as part of my recent, therapy sessions. A lot of things. We had a recent, death in the family, and it just brings up certain things. I started noticing family dynamics changing, um, whether it's for the better or the worse. Sometimes, sometimes life events unearth certain things, and now that the children of the family are grown adults, we're no longer wanting to sweep things under the rug. We want resolution, and we are asking the questions, and we are no longer the children that need to stay in a child's place.
Okay.
So, with that, I have a special guest with me, Mr. Brandon Sicard, 1/3 of the Wine and Audacity Podcast. Shout out to Aaron and Shauna, and also our girl Key. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being
Of
on.
course, of course.
And a little bit about Brandon. So, aside from being on one of the most awesome and entertaining podcasts, you are a civil engineer and a photographer.
I am.
So, speak a little bit about that.
I do too much.
There you go. That's the perfect takeaway.
Yeah, I do too much. But it's all a good fun. As a kid, I was always interested in learning about how things worked. I took an interest in, of course, growing up in a city. I'm originally from Baltimore. I took an interest in learning, like, why do cities work the way they do? There's a bus, but where'd the bus come from? Where is it going? If it rains, where does this water that falls on the ground, where does it go? And that led me into initially wanting to be an architect because I liked design and like constructing things or coming up with things. But my funny enough, my 11th grade trigonometry teacher, who actually later became my boss, convinced me to go into engineering. He was like, you have the aptitude for it. You're amazing at math. Go for it. And I was like, okay. And I was 16. Now I'm 39. So 20 plus years later, here we are, as a engineer for them.
Were you a Lego kid?
Of course. Of course.
Man. I could never really get into Legos. I admire them. It's just if you step on them too much, I can't.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, my goodness.
I was a neat freak, so that was not ever my portion. I've always been, I wouldn't say like anal about cleaning or like with the white glove, like going swiping things.
Yeah, but you knew what your things were.
Exactly, because growing up in a house with other kids, it's like, if you don't keep track of your shit, either somebody will take it or it will get lost. So.
I know that's right. And what about you as a photographer? Has that always been a hobby of yours, or when did you get into that?
It was always a hobby. My dad was actually a photographer back in the 70s. I learned as I got older, and I actually have his old broken cameras around somewhere. But when I graduated from college, I spent so much time being logical and doing math and solving problems that it initially started as a creative outlet because I needed to flex the other side of my brain. But I was that friend, and Shauna, Aaron, and Key, my co-hosts and actual best friends, will tell you, I used to have a Canon camera, like a old school point and shoot, and we would go out to get dinner. We would go hang out. I'm literally walking around with the camera on my wrist, snapping pictures of like trees and like bricks and taking pictures of them and all sorts of things when I was in college. And then when I graduated, it turned into a hobby that I loved. And people were like, hey, can you take my photo? I'm sure. And that went into shooting like headshots for people. I've shot weddings. Funny enough, my former trainer is a friend of mine now, but shout out to my trainer, Aaron, no relation to my co-host. He asked me to shoot his wedding. And I was like, okay, sure. I haven't done it in like 10 years, but I'll shoot your wedding. No problem. So
but if it's a gift, I feel like regardless of how long it's been, once you pick it back up or you get back into it, it's seamless.
It is. And I don't a lot of time for photography, nowhere near as much as I used to, because again, so with the podcast, not only am I the person that, conceived the show, I'm sure you know this with your
Yeah.
podcast. I executive produce, I write copy, I do all the editing, I upload, I I'm financially responsible for the podcast, so I handle pretty much 90% of the back end stuff of it. So
Yeah.
that takes up the vast majority of my outer work time. So photography is kind of unfortunately falling by the wayside. But I'm
Yeah.
glad now that I'm able to get back into it and flex that muscle because it is it's such a great release for me mentally.
And I love your take on photography. I'm surrounded by a couple of photographers now that I think about it,
Mhm,
and I love seeing their individual style.
mhm,
It's super cool to like it could be the same exact object or person, but
mhm,
just seeing like just the way your perspective of it
mhm.
is really, really cool. How long did it take you to develop your photography eye, so to speak,
Um, I
or
would
editing
say,
style?
well, so I'll share a fun fact about me. I honed my photography style, I guess, through college, where, like I said, I would literally take this point and shoot camera out and take a picture of a brick or the sky or a tree or somebody or something out of the way. And my editing style, legitimately, I do minimal editing. My editing style consists of literally just color correction. I don't, because I want,
Okay, flex.
I mean, not to toot my own
That's a
horn, but
flex.
you know, I don't really do much in terms of editing. I just do color correction. I may make an image a little darker, a little brighter, and then that's the image because that's how I want it to look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool because if I mean, especially if you know like your light source and like the
Mm-hmm.
balance when you're taking the picture, you don't have to do much editing
Mm-hmm. Yep.
unless you're just like cleaning up very
Exactly. Clean up a blemish or maybe somebody's a little cross-eyed.
yeah,
It happens, but
it
those
does, yeah.
imperfections, I think a lot of people, and you see this a lot on social media when people post photographs, they're super retouched. People post images, these AI images or these altered images where it's like they shellac on a whole coat of makeup or they look unnatural. And I find that a picture is supposed to tell a story, right? A
Mm,
picture, the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I want to capture people in natural moments because those natural moments, those natural feelings, those natural whatever, it shines through in the image. And whenever I take photos of people, I always say, if for example, for a couple, I'll say, make your wife laugh, make your husband laugh, make your partner laugh. And they know without me having to direct them specifically how to make that person laugh because they know that person.
exactly.
And it shines through that actual emotion and that interaction shines through in the actual image. And that's always what I go for.
And it's organic. And my favorite pictures
Exactly.
are candids because
Mm-hmm.
of that. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're thinking about posing or whatever, all of a sudden your mind goes blank, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm just talking or if I feel very comfortable with my photographer, those are always the best pictures. Or I've been playing around with photography a little bit on my phone. Nothing crazy.
Hey,
But
it's still photography.
listen, and I love capturing again similar to you, like out
Mm-hmm.
with friends or family, or if I'm going somewhere and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting. Oh, I love how the the sun casted this shadow this
Mm-hmm.
way, or the way the light picks up and whatever, and just
Mm-hmm.
wanting to capture it. But especially with friends and stuff like that, because people never realize how other people see them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that's one of my favorite things of seeing in like not formatted or I don't know, like those couples pages, sometimes they give me the ick. But if it's
Oh,
like a if it just happens to be somebody taking a picture of their spouse or their partner and it's like
mm,
in their when they first wake up in the morning. Like I love
mm,
seeing how their partner captures them.
yes.
And it's usually the most like n- times when people don't feel pretty or put together. Like it's just in their raw form.
Hmm. A
And
lot of
so,
people,
yeah.
a lot of people I've shot, I've worked with some models who can get in and they know exactly what pose to hit, how to make something look
Yeah.
presentable. But 98% of the people I shoot are just regular people, right? And I
Yeah.
always say that my job as a photographer in that moment is to distract you because people come in, they're nervous. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to
Mhm.
stand. And my
Camera
job,
shy.
exactly. And that my job in that moment is to distract you, is to disarm you, because like I said, those natural emotions will shine through on the image. So when I'm shooting somebody, I'll try to make them laugh. I'll try to get them to like look a certain way. But I also find that the first few shots tend to be the best because I'll tell them, hey, I'm just testing light. I'll just snap a couple images and the
Yeah.
guard isn't up. So they're just standing there like,
Mhm.
looking very natural. And those are usually like the best images
Mhm.
because they're off guard. The guard is down. And
Absolutely.
then after 5 or 6 minutes, I have 20 frames and they're like, whoa, what'd you do? I said, you were distracted. You weren't paying attention. Or you were looking at something going by. And I captured the moment and you look amazing in that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said your dad was a photographer. Do you have
Mhm.
his photos? Like, how would you say your style is similar to his, or is it not?
My dad's photos.
Yeah,
Um,
like, do
I,
you
I actually have never seen any of his photos. I've seen photos of him,
really?
but a lot of his like his personal belongings when he passed when I was in high school, we had moved back
Mm.
from Chicago to Baltimore. So I didn't actually get any of it, like his personal effects aside from like the camera equipment.
Oh,
So I
wow.
actually don't have any. I don't even know if he took photos. And if he did, they're probably still in Haiti. I don't know where anything is.
Wow, that's because that would have been so interesting to see,
Hmm.
because a lot of our talents are ours, but I do feel it's interesting going through, like, ancestry or, like, your family and
Hmm.
see if anybody else had that artistic or creative
Hmm.
style and see how that compares.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow, and so that was a hobby for him as well?
Hmm.
What to your understanding? Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, that hopefully you can come across some film or something.
Yeah, I mean, well, at this point, it's 50, 60 years old, so it may not even develop. But I
Ah,
mean,
sure.
I think he actually left some film in his camera bag. Because he actually gave it to me before he passed, his old camera that he hadn't used in
Oh,
years.
wow.
But of course, I never got the film developed, and I don't even. I need to look into that. I need to find somewhere that still develops film because
Maybe see if like one of the because you're in the jackpot of colleges around you, see if there's like a photography professor or somebody like a
that's right.
or like art history or somebody has to have some method
Thank you
or
for that.
can guide you to some resources where, yeah, because
Yeah.
this is part of like history.
Thanks. I didn't even think of that. You're right. Thank you so much for that. I will look into that.
That would be
Mm,
so dope.
yeah.
And if you like did like a showcase
Hmm.
with like your pictures and then your dad's
Hmm.
too,
Well,
that would be dope.
that would be. Thanks for the idea.
That would be
Oh wow.
one thing about me, Imma come up with an event or some kinda artsy showcase. So speaking a bit about families,
Yes.
so for your dad, are you the only child?
No. So I'm actually three of four. I'm my mom's third and youngest, and on my dad's side, I'm the third of four. My younger brother is 4 years younger than I
That's an interesting spot to be in. Do you
am.
operate like the baby of the family or
No. Well, again, on my mom's side, because there's such an age gap between my siblings
okay.
and I
It's kinda like you're the
essentially,
only child, kind of.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And my nieces and nephews, funny enough, my eldest niece is 6 months younger than I am. My sister actually found she was pregnant when my mother was in labor with me. So my eldest
Wow.
niece and I are super close and always have been because they're literally 6 months apart in age.
Y'all are like siblings.
Yeah, me and all of my sister's kids, they call me Brunkle because I'm their brother uncle. Because we literally grew up in the same house together because we're literally I was born in
Yeah.
86, my niece was born in 87, the twins were born in 89, and then my sister's youngest was born in 97. So we all, shout out to the 89
Mhm.
babies, we're all
Yep.
literally in that
Back to
same little
back.
group. Hmm. Yep.
That's cool.
Hmm.
Did you know that well, I mean, when you're young, you don't really understand the concept of uncle.
Hmm.
Like, did you ever use your authority in terms of like, when does that kick in, if ever?
Funny enough, and it's a lot. It's like this with a lot of families. I didn't really ever have to do it when we were kids because we were so close in age.
Yeah.
But when my mom passed,
Mm.
I had to quickly um establish that boundary and say,
Oh.
I love y'all. We are not equal. In this case, with me and my siblings, because of course, my nieces and nephews were close to my mother. That's their grandmother. So
Yeah.
they thought that they could just come in and start trying to do things and take things. And I'm like, hold on. No, no. It's
Oh.
me and my siblings, your mother and your other uncle. The three of us will make our decisions about our mother and her things. And once we decide what happens, you all will get what we agree to give to you or what decisions we allow you to have input on. Um, there were a couple of fights, or not fights with disagreements where
Yeah.
words were said. And I had to
Mm.
quickly remind my my eldest niece, we've gotten over it. And this is actually the first time I've ever, like, I'll say I cussed her out
Yeah.
because I had to explain to her, your grandmother, yes, we were all raised to get along, and it's essentially like siblings, but we are not siblings. We are
Mm.
the same age, but I am pretty much your elder. And in
Yeah.
this, you do not outrank me. You will
No.
not, you can't, you're not, no.
You
Stay in
got
your,
you got a little too comfortable.
yeah, stay in your place.
Yeah.
Stay in your place.
Wow, I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that side of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. And that happened. I was in my 30s and
Yeah.
it was uncomfortable because I cussed her out and hung
Mm.
up on her. And after a couple minutes, I called back and apologized because of the way that I spoke to her. But then I
Yeah.
said, I meant what I said, but I apologize for the way I
For
said
the
it too.
way you said it, yeah, how you
Exactly.
delivered it, but the message, the baseline still
It
remains.
does. It does.
Wow, it's so interesting, again, like, the loss of somebody, it brings up so many things,
Mm-hmm.
or, um, certain aspects of the family dynamics have to be made clear, because you never think about it until you
Mm-mm.
have to.
Exactly. That was the first time we ever had to have those conversations. And it was uncomfortable or bumpy for a while, but we got over it and we're back to pretty much normal.
Yeah.
I will say my sister, I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this to you. I didn't really share it publicly, but my sister actually passed last September.
Oh, my
Yeah.
condolences, I did not know
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. Thank you. So, now they are now dealing with the loss of their mother. And now
Mm.
I'm kind of in this space where I have to be the uncle now. I have to step up as the
Yeah.
essentially the patriarch of our immediate family.
Yeah.
And I'm the same age as them. And it's like, all right, y'all, well, what are we gonna do with this? I try to tell them as somebody who is, I guess now almost 6 years further along in the grief process that they essentially
Mm.
just started 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I see the cracks and I see how, like we talked about, to loop it back to what you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
people compartmentalize things to try to just make it through the day. And I see the cracks starting to form, not just in them into get them individually, but with their relationships with each other. And
Mm.
it's so hard for me to kind of sit back and say, I need to let y'all work through this. I can't come in and scoop all y'all up and say, we're doing family therapy because one, I ain't paying for because they grown. But also too, y'all need to learn how to accept and process your grief.
Mm.
And until you do that, you're gonna transmute it or project it into other things. And it's gonna pop out at inopportune moments because you had an inconvenience. Now you're blowing up at somebody, like you said earlier, and it's like, this isn't even about this. You're
Yeah.
mad at that, but you're releasing the anger through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, although you have the unfortunate experience of well, grieving both parents,
Mm-hmm.
but your mother most recently, but
Mm-hmm.
then you're also grieving your sister,
Mm-hmm.
who, and I'm the eldest, so in a lot of ways the eldest, and also, or the only daughter or first daughter,
Mm-hmm.
we're kind of the surrogate moms.
Mm-hmm.
So even when mom is still there, mom is usually working. For me, I grew up in a single parent household.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's you've essentially lost like two maternal
Mm-hmm.
figures, and then you're also grieving your sister.
Mm-hmm.
So while wanting to be there and support, your niece and nephews, like, how do you then process those losses too, like without denying your own grief?
I will say that in terms of me having to process it, my sister's, like, her passing. My sister actually had cancer. Um,
Okay.
so she had been sick for some time, but her death did come relatively suddenly. And
Mm,
I would say that for me, I've worked through it and I've understood the fact that, unfortunately, she ended up catching cancer and she got sick and passed. But my feeling about it really is, I wouldn't say I'm so numb. I've kind of like just processed it as she was sick. We knew she was sick. And I
yeah.
had my moments when she was in the hospital. But I also allow myself now as time goes on, if I feel a certain way, I just sit and let the moment come and let it pass. I don't try to just like, no, I need to distract myself with work or I need to, distract myself with something so I don't feel. That was something I learned in therapy to help me, help me process it.
I would say, and I'm no grief expert, but it is a topic that I tend to always go back to because I would say from very young, I kind of grew up through
Mhm,
grief because my grandmother unfortunately passed when she was very young.
mhm,
My mom, being the eldest, stepped up in a lot of ways, and I always heard about heard about my grandmother by way of grief.
mhm,
Not so much about retelling of stories of when she was alive and how she was and all of this, but there was always kind of like a dark cloud.
mhm.
And oddly enough, yesterday at the time that we're recording this, no, today, yesterday was Friday the 13th. Today is March 14th, and it's actually the anniversary of my grandmother's passing. And her and her twin sister were actually born on March 16th,
Oh, wow.
which is Monday.
Mhm,
So talking about this it's very timely. But yeah, things like death anniversaries, going to the cemetery, like it was always part of my upbringing, but nothing
mhm.
was ever really explained.
Right.
Um, but I always knew from very young and being observant and being there emotionally for the people around me, I knew that her absence, I can see how that was detrimental
Mhm,
to either people's personal development, or lack thereof, definitely emotionally. So although I am a late bloomer in a lot of ways, I felt like those areas in which I've been made to be a late bloomer was because I had to show up in other areas,
right.
or just certain dynamics in my family. I kind of held myself back from experiencing those things that just people normally do, because I didn't either want the attention for it,
Mhm,
or I just was afraid of what the outcome was going to be, or people just didn't have the answers outside of
mhm.
just don't do it.
Right. Mhm,
And so with each loss, it always just made me curious to see, like, um it's so bad to say, but I would always get frustrated when people pass.
mhm,
Out of the inconvenience of it, because I'm like, dang, this is another way that, things are gonna get delayed.
mhm,
That's the little guilty little thought that I have to myself when people pass. Of course, sad,
mhm,
and it's unfortunate. And then just thinking of the like impact that it has, and even thinking about like my own mortality.
mm.
I don't
Yeah.
ever like, for the longest time, I would fear death, but not so much because where do you go afterwards? But it was more
Yeah.
so I knew the role that I played in my family, or
Mhm,
that I chose to, perform and operate,
mhm,
that my absence is like, damn, what is gonna do to them? Like, who's gonna be there for them? Who's gonna show up for them in this way?
mhm.
And I don't know how to sit with that. Like, has that ever been something you've considered? Like, given like your role in your family, or how you show up like within that dynamic, or even in your friend groups, because a lot of friend groups, you guys have been friends for so
Yeah.
many years, like you guys are you've reached the family threshold.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, what does that absence, like, how, what, yeah.
I actually have not thought of that. My thoughts around death kind of have actually centered on the like what happens when you die. What
Oh, okay.
where do I or my consciousness like where do I go after that event happens? That's really
Yeah.
been like my focus or like my fear about death. But I actually have not thought of at all of like how my absence would affect my nieces and nephews or even my friends. I haven't
Yeah.
thought of that at all, surprisingly.
So now that you are the patriarch, is that a title that you are embracing
No.
or resistant to it? Okay, because
I
you do
mean,
have an older brother.
So I call myself the patriarch. My older brother has been in jail for the past 35 years.
Okay.
So yeah. Um so he has essentially not been around. I'm 39, I'll be 40 in December. He's been in jail since I was 4.
Wow.
Um and he essentially won't ever come home. He has a very essentially a life sentence.
Wow.
So he is like around through the phone. He'll call and get on
Mhm.
people's nerves. But
I mean, siblings.
yes, my God. Um, but that's the extent of the relationship I've always had with my brother, and by extension, our nieces and nephews. So now
Yeah.
that it's essentially just me and him, because our mother and older
Mm,
sister are gone.
yeah.
Um, the role is kind of fallen on me, but also because I live 50 miles away, I moved to DC now almost 13 years ago. I haven't lived in Baltimore, where my family's from, since 2013.
Oh, wow.
So there's distance, and there has been
Mm.
natural distance, especially that my nieces and nephews are parents themselves. They have kids.
Oh,
My
wow. Okay.
my eldest great niece is 20. So they
You a
started.
great uncle?
I've been a great uncle since I was 19. They
And
started
and
early.
and you look like a baby. Amen. God is good. When
All
you
the
drink
time.
water and mind your business.
Listen,
That's the preservation tool right there.
that's all I do. I'm well moisturized, and yes.
Mind that business.
Uh-huh. That's why I'm so far away. I always say that I'm close enough to where I can get home if there's an emergency or anything happening, but I'm
Yeah.
far enough to where nobody's going to come because they don't want to make the drive to where I live.
Ooh, listen.
Come visit. Yeah,
'Cause
yo, come visit. Come visit. Nobody's going to. And I was like, okay, well.
they're like, damn, gas is like 300. It's like,
And it takes 2 hours on the train to get there. Oh, I don't
oh.
know. Oh,
And then
well.
and then if I think about how long the visit gonna be, then I have to make that trek
Trip
back,
back
and then I gotta
home.
try to catch a train, and then and I don't. You're not gonna let me stay over there, and then I don't. Do you have a guest room set up in your house? That'll
I am
answer
in
my
my guest
question.
room. I am in my guest room.
Okay,
It's my
and
office.
is come on. That's the only guest, the only
Because of
visitors.
COVID, I
Yeah.
bought a 2-bedroom condo, but because of COVID, I had to turn my guest bedroom into an office because I've been working from home off and on for the past almost 6 years now. So, I mean, if you want to cuddle up next to my Peloton, you can, but it's going to be a tight squeeze.
That part. Okay. Oh, I love this so much. So, okay, as the eldest,
Mhm,
I feel like I've had to mature and like raise people in a lot of
mhm,
ways. And my mom even joked. Well, I don't think she was joking, honestly. She said when after giving birth, she saw me and she, for whatever reason, like saw her mother in me, and I kind of feel like subconsciously I was put in that role
mhm,
of raising her because unfortunately my mom was 15 when her mom passed, and
mhm,
then my aunt and my uncle were even younger.
mhm,
um so in a lot of ways my mom did not get to or feel, because no one actually tells you how you need to show up, or you need to sacrifice these things, but
mhm,
as the eldest and being the surrogate parent, you tend to assume a lot of responsibilities,
mhm,
and in that holding yourself back in other areas,
mhm,
because I am now needing to be responsible. I now have to be the example. Um, who's gonna look out for me? Like you learn very early, like how to not become a burden. You learn how to where to shrink.
mhm,
Um, and in that, resentment can grow.
mhm,
And so for me, I'm 36,
mhm.
and the question of, oh, so kids, especially from the older generation, and I'm just like, it's giving I've been mom for a long time. Mama's been waiting for these kids to go up to college, amen.
Amen.
So or get up at my house. Um, and one of my friends, oddly, like years ago, because she had been around the family, she's like, I can tell that whenever if you move away, you will be the one to not come back. And it's because there's been a certain emotional codependency that comes into play.
Mhm,
And then the grief aspect too, especially when you have certain losses at young ages,
mhm.
it causes you to want to cling on to people.
Right.
I don't do well with clingy, not even in partners. Amen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you got the spirit of cling on you, guess what Chris is doing? I'm out. And so where I would tolerate it because it was like, well, this is family. Everything was this is family. And that's
Right.
often the message is like, you do everything because of family. Therefore, boundaries were not a thing.
Mhm.
And I appreciate what you said about having natural distance.
Yes.
How has that helped you with your family dynamics? Like, were you in a very tight knit? I know your siblings being vastly older than you, but
Mhm.
still, if when your mom was the glue that kind of kept everyone together,
Mhm.
How did that work for you?
So I would say in my case, I've always been I don't want to say extremely, but I've always been very, very introverted. I've always been, even as a kid, my nieces and nephews would joke that I would always be off somewhere by
Mhm.
myself. When I wanted like attention or to be around people, I'd come around and
I
be
know
like,
that's
hey,
right.
hey, hey. And then I would literally, when I'm done, okay, bye. And then we'll go back to my corner by myself.
Mhm.
So I've always been relatively like a person who thrives and loves solitude.
Mhm.
And I've always been a very strong-willed person. I've never really had to, aside from, when my mom passed and I had to establish that set of boundaries, I've
Mhm.
never really had to establish boundaries with anybody because I was always given my space. But like to the point you just mentioned, there was always some level of enmeshment, right?
Mhm.
There's always a level of, well, this is your family and we're literally all in the same house. I'm in my little corner, yes, but my mother is literally 10 feet that way in her room, and my nieces and nephews are downstairs. And my sister, when she will come around, is somewhere like close by. And that physical distance kind of allowed me, I would even one step further, I would even say, because as a kid, I felt like I had to grow up a lot faster to your point. I'm more, although I was the youngest, because of the age gap, and then
Mhm.
with my nieces and nephews, I essentially ascended to the role of the eldest sibling.
Yeah.
So I kind of took on the role of like, don't be a burden. See how you can help. Be helpful. Don't cause
Mhm.
problems. Don't do anything. And taking that role on, or having that self-imposed, because it was self-imposed as a kid,
Yes.
that title for so long. Once I was an adult and I was on my own, I was like, who the hell am I as a person?
That part.
I've always been hyper independent. I've always been self sufficient. I've always been, or had a degree of emotional regulation, because I learned, like you said earlier, there's nobody coming to save me. There is nobody coming to
Mm-mm.
take care of me. If I don't manage it for myself, n-
Mhm.
it will literally just not get done, or things will fall apart. But issues popped up in my first like serious romantic relationship, because I was so hyper independent and so all of these things. I would not let my partner at the time, and we were together for almost like 5 years.
Wow.
It was a thing of like, I got it, don't worry about it. And he literally had to sit me down and said, "Let me take care of you. You do
Mm.
so much, and I appreciate it, but you do so much to take care of me and you. You don't let me do anything for you. Let me reciprocate." And I was like,
Mhm.
"What do you mean?" And it was a learning
Yeah.
curve, because it's like I'm so used to being self-sufficient that I didn't know how to let somebody else take care of or even show up for me.
Man.
And having that distance from my family, from where we were all raised to be hyper independent, self-aware, to where sometimes I feel like even now as an adult, like I said, pushing 40, I sometimes struggle with being open and allowing people to show up for me, because I got it. I
Mhm.
got it. It'll get done. Um, yeah, the distance really is allowing me to soften in a lot of ways. And
Mm.
it's allowing me to realize, like the saying goes, no man is an island. We all need people. We all need somebody. But it also forces me to just be present and realize that you have your own work to do, but it's not a bad thing to rely on other people.
Ooh, I've struggled with that part
Hmm.
because like you mentioned, I can identify in all of those things.
Hmm.
Being hyper independent. One thing about me, I'll learn how to stay out of the way because being out of the way felt safe for me.
Hmm.
It was a break.
Hmm.
Those 6 years that it was just me as the grandchild, like, I had the built-in only child,
Hmm.
like, system in place. And then, needing to show up emotionally or be that sponge. I was born an empath, so it was just overload for me. So anything that felt safe, it was like, "Oh, you need the dishes done? Okay, got it." Everything that I did was to get people away from me.
That
I
part.
did the dishes, I did the laundry, I did all of the responsibilities. Check, 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 check. Leave me
Mm-hmm.
alone.
That's exact. It's funny enough. When I was in high school, my mother, we were living in Chicago at the time before we moved back to Baltimore, and my mother, right around the time, let's say my great grandmother, right before she passed, my mother moved her to Illinois from with us,
Mhm,
and she came back to Baltimore for 2 weeks and left me home alone. And my sister, of course, she lived maybe like a 5 minute walk from our house, so there was an adult nearby, but I was essentially home by myself. And my aunt, I never forget, my aunt asked her, she said, "You left him home? Like your 15-year-old son at home by himself for like 2 weeks?" She said, "Yeah, he's not going to do anything because I know him. He's going to be at home." And
mhm.
she asked me, she said, "What did you do?" I said, "I sat in the house and then watched TV and enjoyed the peace and quiet."
That part.
She was like, "Well, I mean, okay."
Mhm.
It's silence. And
Listen,
the
peaceful.
Pete, listen, the one thing I've gotten in my years of like living alone, it's peaceful. It's me and my
Mhm,
plants in here. Oh, and that
mhm.
damn Peloton. That's it.
Mhm.
It's so peaceful.
Mhm,
So I am fiercely protective of my peace and of my
mm.
my space, to where my friends are like, you haven't had like a function at your house in like 5 years." I said, "Oh, I haven't? Oh, okay."
The thought of that gave me anxiety.
I don't
I
mind
was like,
hosting, but it's few and far between. Because it's
that
like,
part, because you especially energetically, like,
mm-hmm,
you've curated your space.
mm-hmm,
You like things set, your routine.
mm-hmm,
The thought of having like so my mom has always been the host. She's
mm-hmm,
one of those, like, I tell her her greatest gift is often also her curse. She's a nurturer by
mm-hmm.
nature.
Yes.
You come over, you are fed.
Mm-hmm.
She'll make sure you have a place to sleep. Like you have
That's
no
my mom.
needs,
That's my
often
mom.
to her detriment. And I think that comes
Mm-hmm.
with being the eldest, also being the eldest daughter, and then also
Mm-hmm.
cultural expectations too, as a Haitian woman and Caribbean, all of that. Um, so I have adopted a lot of that. But it wasn't until recently that I made the connection, um, and I spoke about it briefly in my last episode,
Mm-hmm.
that although I love the camaraderie of like everyone coming together, because that's when my family felt the lightest.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people had fun. That's when people laughed. That's when people were nostalgic and talk about stories of the past. And so I love seeing my family in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But being for me, that felt like my responsibilities were times 10
Right.
because I was already performing
Mm-hmm.
by showing up and going above and beyond in all these different areas to appease people and be
Mm-hmm.
the people pleaser, that it was like,
Mm-hmm.
now I got to perform times 10.
Mm-hmm.
I got to keep up that reputation that the family has spoken about. Oh, Chris is so sweet. She's so helpful. She's so quiet. Oh, she does this. She does that. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, it's more I didn't have the language back then to know it's a trauma response. Going back, I
Mm-hmm.
know that, but it's like
Oof.
I did that because I had to. It felt safe to do so. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be running around and, doing all of the things that the kids do, but I also don't embarrass me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting in trouble. I'm the one of
No,
those I learn from other people's mistakes. I don't need to do them myself
that part.
to
That part.
learn. Okay?
My mother was
Uh
actually the same way in that she was the
mhm.
eldest girl. My mother was one of seven, but she
Yeah.
was the eldest girl. I have an older uncle, and then my mother's siblings are all younger than her. So my
Mhm.
mother was responsible because my grandmother, my grandmother was a single mother. So my mother was responsible for taking care of all six of her siblings, the older brother and all five of the younger kids.
Mhm.
And even as as I grew up in our house, there will be an aunt or an uncle living with us. My sister will
Mhm.
come in and out. So my mother raised not just me, but all four of my nieces and nephews. There was always somebody at the house. But then it was also a thing of, like you said, with your mother, come over, get you some food. You always have a place to
Mhm.
stay. The joke is my childhood home was the family house. So where if you need
Yeah.
anything, you have somewhere to go. And that was great. But I saw the stress that it put on her because
Mhm.
she carried all of this weight of not just the child she was responsible for, but all four of her grandchildren, her siblings, her mother. And it kind of just like she buckled under the weight of all of it. And it took for me to become an adult to see how essentially my mother's childhood was essentially, her life was essentially
Mm,
in care of somebody else.
yeah.
She had kids young. My mother became a nurse. So she's always had somebody to take care of or to be responsible for.
Why did my mom also low key do that too? Being that conditioned to care for people.
Mm-hmm.
So then being the nurse, it felt like because I was already doing all of these things anyways, having a
Mm-hmm.
formal job title makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But I learned that my mother notoriously would not talk a lot about her childhood. But
Mm,
I knew that there was a rebellious streak she went through at like 12 or 13 when she told my grandmother, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not raising your kids. I'm out. And she ran away.
wow.
And from what the story I've been able to piece together over the years, they knew where my mother was, but they went back and grabbed her and brought her back home. But there was always this rebellious streak in
Yeah.
my mother that sometimes would pop up and a lot of times wouldn't. But
Mm,
it manifested in my mother. She would call herself a gypsy. She'd be infamous for up and like moving us halfway across the country randomly just because she wanted to get away and was tired of it. So instead of learning to deal with the issue where she is, I'm going to run. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm taking my kids and I'm going somewhere else. I'm moving. I went to 4 different elementary schools because my mother did not like sitting for too long. She wanted to move and just do other things. But I ultimately seen that, not confusion, but the chaos or the response. I actually have become a lot of like the antithesis of that in a lot
mm-hmm,
of ways because, like I said, my mother was so open. I am a lot more reserved in that. I like to say put in one place for a long time.
mm-hmm.
I like to take care of people as well, but I have a limit that I'll reach. No, you can't come live with me. Yes, I'll let you stay the night. Okay, but you need to go home. Like you can't, this not the family house. You can't live here.
Yeah.
You know? Um, I have much firmer boundaries and I have a much firmer personality to know that, I have limits and I'm not
Yeah.
setting myself on fire to keep anybody.
Ooh.
I refuse.
You have said so much, Pastor Brandon. Where is the plate? Where's
Listen.
Cash App, Zelle.
Okay, I have
The
all of
church
them.
the church is open.
The church is amen.
Wow. Dang, I wonder if there's a case study. My goodness. Because adjacent to that, we
Hmm.
did move a lot, but a lot of it was due to like financial instability. But I
Hmm.
also feel like my mom, now that I think about it, did have rebellious streaks of just wanting to dip
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
And our family being so close, but in an unhealthy way at
Hmm.
times. Um, because something about family that seemed to be the draw for. We didn't care
Hmm.
about boundaries. What are boundaries?
What are those? What are those?
Family. We know everything, or it was under the guise of like safety.
Hmm.
That was the reason for people not, yeah, for not keeping things to themselves or having any kind of reservation or
Hmm.
really boundaries. Everything was like, well, no, we just need to know for wellness, for safety, for all of
Hmm.
these things. Except for when it came to health, we didn't know about it until that person passed, and it was like, we have all this in our family history.
They wouldn't
Why
say
didn't
anything until
why
like,
ain't anybody
oh
want to talk
yeah,
about it?
I didn't know one of my aunts had brain cancer until she was in the hospital dying from brain cancer. My cousin was, oh yeah, she was in the hospital a decade ago. And I was like, what?
So nobody's gonna tell us,
Oh,
so we can
she
be
didn't want nobody to know.
preventative.
She didn't want nobody to
That's
know. I was like,
the things that we need to know. But then we know everybody else's drama and the gossip. We okay. It's people be tricky. But yeah, like us moving from New York to Florida was my mom essentially wanting to flee
mm-hmm,
from the family. It was like, because I don't know how to establish boundaries and have them be respected and
mm-hmm,
regarded in person, I need this physical boundary of me being across state lines for
space,
you to understand.
space. Mm-hmm,
And that's in this moment I'm processing because that is my
mm-hmm,
that's also something that I've adopted of like, I need the physical boundary because
mm-hmm,
while I am learning one that I am deserving of boundaries and that I don't have to earn them.
Exactly.
So even accepting that in myself and that you can have healthy boundaries as well.
Mhm.
Or even if I didn't know what they were, anything that makes me feel uncomfortable, that right there was a boundary that someone crossed. I need to
Mhm.
pay attention to that.
Yep.
So I had to start being more in tune with myself and stop being so in tune for other people and anticipating their needs. So being able to switch that lens to me.
Mhm.
Um, because even in that, like not knowing how to make space for people to show up for me. If that ever happened, and like my sister and I are super close and I value our relationship, I would say she's my big little sister.
Mhm.
Um, so even her wanting to do things for me or like showing up for me in the way that she does, it makes me feel uncomfortable because I feel like as the eldest, I should not be in this
Mhm.
dynamic. I should be the one always treating you.
Mhm.
I should be the one to do things like this feels weird. Or I have received it as like you are less than. Okay, so if you do this, you need to do that. Where we look out for each other and it's not this expectation of tit for tat. But I have internalized it in that way based off of seeing the family dynamics, how so many things were conditional. I can't say there is love there, but as I realize, receiving things has always been met with condition because there was always the, oh, I bought you this item, but remember, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. There was always rules of engagement with any gift that I received, which is maybe why gifting is not my love language. Because I'm like, what are you going to tell me how to play with it?
Right.
How not to ruin it? I knew
Right.
Santa Claus wasn't real because my mom told me for sure that she went and she bought them. Aside from us not having a chimney in our Brooklyn apartment.
Okay.
But so and everything felt transactional. It was like, yes, I am this nurturer. I do care and love for you, but the expectation is if I need something, you need to show up. Or, bringing up all of the ways that I did things for you. And so it was just like, did you okay, now I'm confused by the messaging.
Mhm.
To where
Contradictory.
that's yes, and that's where for
Mhm.
me, I learned from seeing the dynamics and then paying attention to, huh, that made me feel uncomfortable. So then I don't want things. That's how my hyper independence
Mhm.
and me suppressing my needs
Mhm.
and ultimately suppressing my wants to where if I can't do it for myself, I'm not gonna ask.
Mhm.
I've learned to not depend on people. So
Mhm.
therefore not allowing the opportunity for people to show up for me because I don't need to be disappointed.
That part.
That's the number one way to just to not have disappointments, to not have expectations. So
100%.
so which is where for me I usually take things as a pleasant surprise or in my mind I'm like, okay, now we got to look out for a way. It just I don't know how to receive and just accept
Mhm.
without feeling like I need to immediately provide something as a
Right.
form of gratitude.
Right.
So that's the next ooh, my therapist child. I keep her in business.
Listen.
Um, because you keep unearthing things. But something about creating the space and like my mom and I, we do live together. For me, being home for this long was more for me to give her stability.
Mhm.
Because once I was like, no, I need to see what's, being done. We're splitting. We're essentially roommates, but it's a
Right.
very odd dynamic because we're roommates, but I very much so live in her house.
Right.
Um, but wanting that space and feeling guilty
Mhm.
about that. Did you ever experience guilt for wanting to have your own place or like being in your space? Like, I enjoy this, but like the fact that I don't want nobody over, I just know me.
I think it's different for me because like I said, I grew up in the house with all of my nieces and nephews, all four of
Yeah.
them. So I always had to share,
Yeah.
you would think that, and it took me years, even after my mom passed, I didn't really start to understand my sister, my sister and her life and her issues to why her kids had to come live with us.
Mm,
I was in private school. When I was growing up, my mom had me in private school up until they moved in because she couldn't afford it because she had well, at the time, 3 other kids to take care
yeah.
of. I was put in public school with them. And my life ultimately, or my life trajectory changed
Hmm.
because of that. So as I got older and I got tired of always having somebody in the house with me, it was like, Bye. I'm I craved having my own space. And it was funny enough, when I moved out and got my own apartment, my first apartment, my mother moved in with me and let my sister and her kids have our house
Wow.
for that year. I lived with my mother for my first couple years after I moved out. I had the lease. And she was essentially she took the smaller bedroom. She covered the cable bill, and I said, "You do what you want to do. I'll cover the rent and most of the bills. You just pay the cable bill, and we good to go." But then when I moved out on my own, after that, I never went back to her house or even entertained the thought of having living with so many people, because it's like I don't want to have to share so much of myself and my space with a whole family full of people, you know?
Yeah.
Especially not adults. I could see if I had children, if I was married and with kids, that's one thing. But my
Yeah.
sister and her now adult children, y'all got it. Y'all know. I'll be over here.
Do you feel like when you would go visit or be in that space, in that
Mhm.
dynamic, that you fall back into that role?
No, because I know, I think now that I've lived on my own for so long, I know
Mm,
when to separate. And like it goes back to me as a kid. I would go around long enough and get my fill of family and that energy, and then ultimately know exactly when to separate because I start to get overwhelmed. So it's like, all right,
yes.
I'm going back to my house.
Yeah.
I've been really good, and I'm proud of myself for learning my boundaries early on and being very, very firm with them,
Mhm.
to know I have my limits. Like I said, I'm an introvert. I know when my social battery is low, or I just don't feel like
Yeah.
dealing with this or people anymore. And I'm quick to extricate myself and say, I'm going back to my house. Call me if you need me.
Yeah,
Oh,
because when my social battery gets low, I'm rude. Like, I start being irritated, and now, like, I'm ending things on a bad note. I gotta end when things are high so that I can just process and be like, "Okay, that filled up my love cup. Alright, I'm
mm-hmm.
good until, like, the next one." So that's
I
my
get
goal, is
quiet.
to
I'm
yes,
mute. I go mute.
I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, my greatest gift is disassociation, because I'll tap back in. Listen, that only child for them 6 years, honey, my imagination is my playground.
Okay.
Till this day, like, I love that's my childlike essence. And
Mm-hmm.
so once I'm disassociating, it's because Chris has gone into her room.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, oh, I learned really quickly how to just shut things down.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I grew up in a multi-generational household. So our
Mm-hmm.
house was quiet. I learned to create that quiet.
Say.
So it was to do all of the things to leave me alone so I could be in my space,
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally. So
I'm not
I
sure if it's
completely understand.
the same for you, but I love a good Irish goodbye now that I'm an adult.
Listen,
But also, I am that
fade to
friend.
black.
Listen, now you see me, now you don't. But also, I'm good at, I drive myself everywhere, because when I'm
Yeah.
ready to go, I am ready to go.
Why are you me, Brandon? The way I do that for dates
All right.
too.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get my keys. Love
Where are my
y'all.
books? My books, my
My
bags, and my
my
belongings. Cause
belongings.
it's
Let me
been
go,
real.
because I don't. Shauna is the one person that I will ride with to
Yeah,
go somewhere,
yeah.
but 99.9% of the time, I drive myself, because when
I'm driving
I'm ready to
myself,
go, I'm ready to go.
and my car is an extension of my house or my safe space.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have so many curated playlists depending on the
Oh,
mood.
same.
Because of that,
Yeah.
if I'm overwhelmed, I just need to drive in silence with the windows down.
Let me catch this breeze, have my
Oh my
sunglasses on,
god.
enjoying the air, being out of the house. Yes.
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 Oh my
Yes.
god. I
Yes.
love that so much. I,
Yes.
I listen, I am getting my own apartment this year. I said I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's at the detriment to my mother and I's relationship. Because we are two grown women,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard when the maternal figure does not see you
As a
as the
grown.
adult. It's like
Mm-hmm.
she knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you were 36, you were an adult, but she sees baby Chris and it still treats as if, and it's hard because it's like, I have boundaries and I'm an adult. But if you act out, you are having a tantrum, therefore feeding the little kid that they see all the time.
My mother and I had a similar situation, and
Woo.
I promptly had to get her together. It was the first time I ever had to, and it
Mm.
stunned her into silence. She did not speak to me for 2 weeks. And I heard my sister called me and told me the stuff my mother was
Oh,
saying.
that's how you know.
Right. She was like, your
Your
mother's a trip. Your mother's a trip.
all of a sudden, that's not my mother. That's
Right.
your mother.
She said, your mother's a trip. I said, and my sister had to tell her about herself a lot more gentler than I did. But
Yeah.
I was 30 or 31 at the time. And I said, look, sis, this is what we're not going to do.
Oh, this was after you guys had already lived together.
Yeah, I had already been. Yeah,
so you had got your condo by then.
No, I was in my apartment. I hadn't bought my condo yet. So this was like, okay. So we were actually going to my paternal side's family reunion down in Fort Lauderdale. This was like 2017.
Okay.
She was running late. I was running late, but we were driving. I don't know if I mentioned this. I have like a fear of flying, so I drive everywhere.
Do you?
Yeah,
I've overcome my fear of flying, but similar to you, I did not fly. Me and Amtrak, we went together real bad until I got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Listen,
but yes,
I drive. Me and Old Faithful, I've driven their car to Miami, up into New Orleans. I drive everywhere.
Wow,
I drive like planes.
Okay.
So we were driving, and me and her had a moment, and I literally was like, "Look, you my mother, I respect you, but this is what we're not going to do. I'm grown. You are not going to talk to me any kind of way. I don't care how old you are or the fact that you are my mother. Respect is mutual. I don't care. Do not disrespect me." And she was like, and I said, yes.
You gagged her.
Yeah. And what can she say? She said she was quiet the entire ride to Florida. She would cry the entire ride back. And once we got home, I didn't talk to her. I used to, at the time, I would go up to Baltimore to get my hair cut when I still had hair. And I would go to the barber after I would leave the barbershop. I would go to her house on Friday nights for dinner. We would catch up like for the week.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to her house for like 2 weeks. She didn't call me. I didn't call her. And my sister called me and was like, Brandon, your mother's a trip. I had to explain to her, like, look, he grown. Like, you can't, just because you're the mother, you can't talk to people any kind of way.
Yeah.
Because people are adults. And also people are allowed to be like, if you do too much, I can.
And if they're not used to that, they don't know how to respond to that.
Because again, it goes back to that lack of boundaries or knowing boundaries. But that first time you get hit with one, it's like
brick wall.
And what could she do but accept it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put an ice pack on them feelings, sis. But
you'll be all right.
You'll be okay. You'll get up, dust yourself off.
Right. Because I've learned as I've gotten older, my boundary and my peace and peace of mind trumps all else.
Yeah.
I refuse, like I said earlier, I refuse to set myself on fire to keep somebody else warm because I did it so much growing up. And that's how my mother was. Like I said, you so used to pushing your feelings, your wants, your desires, your thoughts aside to take care of or consider other people. And I reached a point where I said, I'm not doing that. I am not going to be uncomfortable. And if that makes you uncomfortable, choke.
Yeah. That generational trauma or curse stops here.
It did.
I'm dropping that baton. Because for me, I realized that's not a trophy I want.
At all.
Most sacrificed. Number one denier of self needs or self-care. The way that I used to be guilted for wanting to get my nails done or my hair done, it was like, oh, you wasting money on that. And for a while, I would do it in hiding or like be shamed into not. And I was like, no, this is self-care.
Right.
I don't treat it as a treat. I need, because I know how I function, how I operate when I am not put together or I don't feel good. This is part of just regular routine maintenance for me.
Yep.
And I work for it. And I'm deserving just because.
Just because.
So to be shamed for putting yourself first or being that, oh, that could go for something else. It could, but it's not. It's going for this. And so getting to that place, I seeing that maturity and that self-assuredness, I realized when establishing boundaries, because I'm so conflict avoidant,
Mhm.
I am now like, I rather be uncomfortable in the moment
Mhm.
versus being longer frustrated with myself that I did not self-advocate. Because one thing about me, I'll replay a scenario and
Same.
I will, "Oh, I should have said this, I should
I
have did
should have
this."
said this. I should have
And
did
there's
that.
a
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
there's a, a running joke in my family that I, like, fight or, like, I mumble in my sleep, and I feel like that's me reenacting all of the arguments and things that I should have said in the moment
Mhm. Yep.
because I was too worried about other people's feelings or, you don't wanna hurt feelings, you don't do this because everything was seen as
Mhm.
disrespectful or "ou mal élevé, ou fouet quand," and it's like, no, boundaries.
Mhm.
Just because you did not have them, and I see how that's turned you into being resentful or bitter. I don't want
Mhm.
that. And you, because I don't know about like for your mom or like the other elders, but the ones who have self-sacrificed so much, especially begrudgingly, they do it so much that it's out of condition and no longer because they want to. And
Mhm.
so in that, there's this bitterness and that frustration is like, you don't have to.
Mhm.
And because they've kind of taken that on as a badge of honor or they've made that their identity, when people tell them that they don't have to, especially like my sister and I were always having to tell our mom like, girl, we been grown. That whole you weren't able to travel or you couldn't do this, you couldn't buy that because you have children. We been grown. And even then there's in a lot of ways I looked up for my sister and stepped in with that. So it's like, girl, you could have been did your own thing. You can't use that excuse anymore. But because they don't have the language or make that realization of like, who am I
They never
if
had to
I'm
figure it out.
not, yeah, if I'm not these things because when you were made to feel useful,
Mhm.
you can use that identity, which, going back to being a nurse or whatever, like that is your title because all of these things that I do make sense characteristically. So when I'm retired or I'm no longer in that field or everyone who I cared for has either passed or moved away or now they're
Mhm.
grown, who am I?
The perfect example of this is my mother. She, for the longest time, she could not cook small meals. She
My
was
mom
so
still can't.
used
She struggles. She
she's
cooks
so
for a
used to
whole
having a
team.
whole 10 people. It's like it's just her now. She was like, how do I cook for one or two people or for enough for me to have leftovers? I'm used to cooking for a whole house full of people. And now that
Exactly.
everybody's grown and gone and moved, they're grown and moved out.
And
What
want
do
to
I
be mad
do?
that you don't want that. Or that if you do enjoy the meal, that doesn't mean I want leftovers. I have the option of listen, oh my God. That's us right now because my mom doesn't know how to cook small. Or even in her
Mm-hmm.
idea, she's like the small shoji, but that's still like a lot of rice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Oh,
like,
the rice.
oh my God. And so even in that, they still cook things that sustain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Mom, why don't you just buy the groceries and snacks and things that you enjoy?
Right.
Stop thinking about having to buy for what stretches for the family
Right.
or what can last a long time. Like,
Right.
you don't even like eating that.
Right.
But because you're so used to, well, this will last a couple of days, but it's in there a couple of days and nobody's eating it. So it's wasteful.
Right.
Buy yourself the prosciutto and all of the things that
The
you
stuff that
want.
you
Like,
like. Yeah.
yeah, like treat yourself to
Yeah.
that. What things have you seen growing up or like certain experiences that you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna do different?
It's the like thank you for that lead in because it's like you said, it's the austerity, it's the knowing to buy
Mm-hmm.
all this food because you need to make food stretch, it's the
Mm-hmm.
not doing this because you have to save money to do this, not spending on extras or what our parents considered extras because it's wasteful because that money could be reallocated to something else. But then, for example, for me, like the same thing with the manicure and pedicure, I actually added it as a line to my budget, and for the
Yeah.
longest I felt guilty because it's like, well, I could take this money and pay down something or put towards something. And it's like, I deserve, as responsible as I am, and I pay my bills, I'm self sufficient, like I mentioned earlier. If I want to a line in my budget for self care for a monthly manicure and pedicure and to get my head shaved by my barber, why not? And
Yeah.
the guilt about spending money
Oh,
unnecessarily, even though I can afford it, it's like, do you really
that's
need this?
that
Do you
scarcity
really need this?
mindset.
Mhm.
That gets ingrained.
When I was with the long-term ex and we were living together, I remember we were hosting something at our house. And we hired like a housekeeper to come clean because it's like, we have so much stuff going on. Let's just take care of this because it's one of the things we have to worry about. That coincidentally was the weekend of my mother's first visit to see the new place because that was I had just moved, and when one of my aunts came down, and I told her about the housekeeper, and she was flabbergasted. She was like, "You spent money on what? You did what? I would have did it for this price and cook." I said, "Ma,
Why do they do that?
no." I mean, I would have taken the food, but no,
Yeah.
no, we can afford it.
Yes.
It's fine. Like you don't have to add the extra labor. Why? Why are you spending your money? Because I wanted to. It's mine. I worked for it.
And even things like that, like their perception is that that's so far-fetched. That's like
Yes.
upper middle class thing to do, or upper class. It doesn't seem to be attainable. A housekeeper is not expensive.
At all.
Even if you wanted to hire one once a month to do a deep clean and then you just do your maintenance. Like, I am here for that. Especially once you realize, like, you don't have the capacity for things and making that realization, but not feeling less about yourself because of it.
100%.
Like, it's okay to have ease. Waking up on a Saturday and like, maybe that's not my cleaning day because I don't want it to be, and that's okay. They don't know rest. Just sit down.
Also, speaking of rest, my Saturday morning routine, well, today was different because I front loaded my schedule. Like I said, I'm busy all day today. But usually on Saturdays, we don't record like the podcast until noon at Sean's.
Okay.
So my phone is in Do Not Disturb until 11 a.m. I will wake up at like 8 a.m. and just lay in my bed for 4 hours, scrolling on my phone. The fan is blowing in my face. I'm comfortable, just laid back like. And if I want to respond to your text message or your phone call, I will, but more often times I won't. It's quiet. I'm at peace. And I told my mother this, and she was like, "You could have got up and cleaned and done this, and you could have done this." And I said, "No, I do that 5 days a week. When I'm up on time, I have to go to work. I have to make sure I'm up and out the door, or I'm at the computer to work. If I want to lay around on weekends with my phone and do have to serve until noon, why can't I do it? Why do I have to get up and scrub baseboards and clean a whole house? It'll get done eventually, but it doesn't have to be this rigid schedule that you were forced into when you were growing up."
And not being allowed to take care of themselves. Self-care is a priority for me.
Self-care?
That is,
what is
doing nothing is the decision that I made.
Listen.
That is not an opening or availability in my schedule. If I say I'm doing nothing, that is a choice. What are you doing Saturday? Nothing. Oh, no. The activity that I have chosen for the day is to do nothing.
I just say I'm busy. I don't elaborate.
There you go.
I'm busy. And I will be right on that couch under that ceiling, under the fan with Netflix on, feet up, just
kicked up, just chilling. I love that so much.
Listen, Shauna will tell you that I am a workhorse. Like I said before, with our podcast, I do 90% of the behind the scenes work. So I'm literally, after work, I'm here, here in front of the computer at Final Cut Pro, or I'm on that damn Peloton. So the moments I force myself to sit and turn on the PlayStation I bought and barely use, or I sit and watch Netflix, that is my time for me because I already don't take enough of it as is. So if I'm on the couch, don't call and say, "Brandon, can you do this?" I could, but I'll let you know when I can do it. It's not going to be right now.
What does your do not disturb schedule look like? Because when I tell you, if anything, there are rare windows when my phone is not on do not disturb.
Listen,
my phone goes from sleep to personal to work to sleep. I 24/7 do not disturb. That is the boundary that I need. Chris is unavailable. I love that.
During the week, let's say starting Sunday night, do not disturb cuts on at 10:30 p.m. And then it cuts off at 7 a.m. And then during the week, so say Sunday through Thursday, it's 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday and Sundays, it cuts on at 11 p.m. or midnight, but it's on until 10 or 11 a.m. the following morning. So you can reach me. And I have my favorites. Keys are my
Oh
favorites.
yeah.
Sean and Aaron are my aunts, my mother's sisters are in my favorites, and as are all of my nieces and nephews. But they don't
Mm-hmm.
call because, again,
Yeah.
I'm 50 miles away. What am I going to do if there's an emergency besides take an hour or two to get to you?
People laugh, but I always say, because they're like, "Oh, why is your phone always on Do Not Disturb? What if
I don't want to
there's
be
an
bothered.
emergency?" No, what if there's an emergency? I'm not an Avenger.
Right. I'm not,
Call call 911. I'm not a first responder.
I can't
You,
help
if
you.
it's that critical, baby, go there. I am not any parts of medicine. And
Listen,
basic first aid will tell you minutes count, every second counts. So if you're in a dire situation, you need to call somebody that can get to you in seconds.
but that's the physical boundary because of the shared
Mm-hmm.
distance. And it's not like I'm 500 miles away. I'm 50 miles away.
Yeah.
They've known for now over a decade. You can reach me, and if there's something that I need to come to town for, I will. It's going
Yeah.
to take me a couple of hours to find my
Yeah.
shoes and find my keys and actually get on the
Listen,
road and drive. So they're
get
not
your
going to
mind
call me.
right.
Right. They're not going to call me for an emergency because I'm not the most convenient person
Yeah.
to help. And that's also a part of that physical boundary we were discussing earlier. Just the sheer distance, I'm not already on the top of the list to call if there's an emergency. So they don't. And I love
Yeah.
it.
I love that so much. So thank you so much, Brandon,
No
for being
problem.
on this episode. This has been amazing, and I feel like I could talk to you for like 10 more hours.
Of
Um,
course.
for any of the late bloomers listening, or just anyone out there who struggles with carving out that lane and respecting their boundaries, especially
Mhm.
as it pertains to family dynamics and close family dynamics, what is your takeaway or your suggestion to them?
You matter and you are important. Do not, it may be foreign or may be an odd feeling to prioritize yourself, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. Even if you don't have the language or the skill set to know how to, start to take time for and prioritize yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's a bit morbid to say or to think, but you are the only person you will go through this entire life with and end this life with. Regardless of if you are married, you have kids, or whomever. You are the only person you will be from your first breath until your last.
Mm.
Prioritize you, prioritize your needs, prioritize self care where you can. Of course, we're all busy, we all lead full lives. Take moments for yourself and learn to say no. No is one of my favorite words. Learn to say no. Learn to say, I can't do that for you right now. Or learn to say, I can do it, but it's going to have to fit into my schedule and not your schedule. You are your number one priority and you matter first and foremost.
Wow, words of wisdom from Brandon Sicard. Thank you so much. Tell the Bloomies where they can follow you, or where, what all you got going on. And I'll also include the links in the description of this episode. But
I
go ahead.
appreciate you. So again, my name is Brandon Sicard. I am a person that does too much, as I like to say. But I primarily am a photographer, an engineer, and a podcaster. My podcast, Wine and Audacity, the podcast has been going since 2022, I believe. We just started our fourth season at the top of January, and you can find us. Thank you. You can find us on socials all over the place at WandaPod _. That's WANDAPOD _. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky. Our socials, we use a lot on TikTok. We post clips 4 times a day. We're on YouTube. We post all of our clips there along with our full episodes. If you find one of our pages, we have a link tree in all of our bios that will take you to any site. So whatever your fancy is, you can find us. If you want to send us an email, you can at askwandapod@gmail.com. That's ASKWANDAPOD@gmail.com. I always read the inbox, as does Shauna. So we love to hear from you, and come on over and check us out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Bloomies, go ahead, check out Brandon and check out the rest of the crew for the Wine and Audacity podcast. And I'll talk to you later, Bloomies. Bye.